Hello my friends, this is Yara here and I have for you a top 5 best decks for the upcoming ban list. That's right, the ban list just dropped yesterday and a lot of people are like running around trying to see what the best decks are going to be. So these are my top 5. But before we begin, I just wanted to tell you that I am not taking into account Burst of Destiny in this list. Once Burst of Destiny does come out, I'll probably make another list then. But I am taking into account the tins though, so Crossout Designator will be taken into consideration in this list, so keep that in mind. But yeah, these are my top 5 best decks for the upcoming October ban list. Let's go. And at top 5, we have Tri-Brigade. Sure, Tanky got limited and Barrage got banned, but that doesn't take away from the pure Tri-Brigade list. And I think a lot of people may go back to the pure Tri-Brigade list, and that has basically been untouched, right? So it may lower the consistency a bit because you're only gonna have one Tanky in the deck, but this deck is still nuts. It still does what it does, and as long as Shureg or Revolt doesn't get touched, the deck will continue to top. A lot of people were calling for a Shureg hit or a Revolt hit, but since Konami decided not to hit either of those, then I think the deck will continue to see success. So if you have a Tri-Brigade deck, don't get rid of it. The deck is still nuts, and that's why I have it at my top 5. And now for my top 4, I have Dragon Link. Seals didn't get touched, and Seals is the best card in the deck. A non-targeting bounce and being able to special summon from the deck is insane, and as long as that card is still available, the deck will continue to see success. And it was already seeing success. It actually won the UK Extravaganza like a month ago, so the deck is nuts. It has such a huge dedicated base that always tries to like see what the best ratios are. So Dragon Link will continue to go up the ladders as time goes on, and that's why I have Dragon Link as my top 4. But now for my top 3, we have Virtual World. E-Telly came back to 2, baby. That's right, the consistency went up a bit, and the fact that this list was already seeing a lot of tops before the ban list means that it will continue to see tops. Not only did it not get touched, but it also got a buff, right? So now one thing about this deck is that it's not an easy deck to master. So if you are planning to purchase it or you are planning to play it, then I would recommend you to like test it out a lot before taking it to an actual event. But it is a good deck once it gets mastered, and that's why I have Virtual World at my top 3. And now for my top 2, I have Drytron. Out of the top 3 decks of the last ban list, Drytron, Tri-Brigade, and Prank Kids, Drytron is the one that got hit the least, with only an Ava being limited. And a lot of people were clowning on Konami like, oh, you're only gonna hit Ava to 1, but if you think about it, it's actually a good hit. It's a decent hit because it makes it so your Droplet, your Dark Ruler No More, and your Kaijus are that much stronger, because now if you go second against them and you Kaiju or Dark Ruler No More Droplet the Herald of Ultimateness, now they're only gonna have 1 Herald of the Orange Light in their hand, so you only have to play through 1 negate, right? So unless they like hard drew the orange or they searched it with Ben 10, but it makes it so that you have an easier time going up against the deck going second, right? So it was a decent hit, but that's still not gonna take away from the power that Drytron has. So I think Drytron will continue to top, so that's why I have Drytron at my top 2. And now before we get to the number 1, I have some honorable mentions. Honorable mentions, and I may have to talk here for a bit because it's kind of insane, the honorable mentions that I have. So I have Infernoble Knight. Infernoble Knight is one of those decks that requires a lot of memory. You need to memorize a lot of combo lines. If you get hand trapped in certain spots, then you need to know what to do in that scenario. It's a hard deck to master where you need to memorize a lot of combo lines. There's a lot of like memory involved with that deck. So Infernoble Knights is a crazy deck once mastered. Phantom Knights didn't get touched at all. Verti Anaconda is still legal, and they thrive on Verti Anaconda. Doesn't matter where you hit them, they can always just end up on a Dragoon. So, and maybe 1 or 2 Fog Blades. So the deck is pretty scary. So Phantom Knights in my honorable mentions. Ignister does basically the same thing, but it does it well, right? They always want to set up the arrival going first, or they want to make access code going second. So the deck is still pretty good, and I think it's gonna have a very good synergy with Crossout Designator, since they have a lot of room in their deck to add extra cards. They can just add Crossout Designator and then put in a bunch of hand traps, and it's gonna have a very good time going first now. And also I have Pendulum, right? Joker is semi-limited now. Slowly, every list we see that Konami takes out more cards from the ban list involving Pendulums. I don't think it's still part of the top 5 though, because it's still not nowhere near as powerful as it was back then when it first came out. So Trif, I'm sorry, but no, Pendulum not in the top 5. And then we have Prankits. That's right, Prankits in the honorable mention. Like, what are you talking about, Yara? And that's right. And when I first saw the list, I was like, well, you know, a lot of people were calling for either a Meow Meow hit or a Doodle limit, and they decided to go with the Meow Meow. And at first I was like, well, it's just a Meow Meow hit, but then I started like reading into like a lot of like what the top players were saying about this hit, and a lot of them are saying that this deck is dead. I don't agree with that. I don't agree the deck is dead, but I do think it takes away from the late game power that it had back then, right? Because Prankits was the king of top decks. If you're in a top deck scenario with Prankits where both of you are just drawing one card, they will win 100% of the times, because all they needed was to top deck a Prankit. They can go into Meow Meow and they can just combo off. But now that has been taken away from them in the mid to late game. They don't have that luxury anymore, right? They decide to banish it with Butler. So that's why it removed a lot of the mid to late game power of the deck. So that's why I had to take it away from my top 5, and I want to be proven wrong. I want them to have success in the future, right? And I'm a pay close attention to them. So if you're a Prankit player, prove me wrong. Start topping, you know, win some events, you know. But a lot of top decks that have topped with this deck are saying that the deck is pretty much dead now. Like, it's not dead, but it's not tier 1 anymore. It's like tier 2, right? So that's why I have Prankits in my honorable mentions. So you may be wondering, what is a top 1? And that's what we're getting to right now. So top 1. But before we get to top 1, don't forget to smash that like button. And for my number 1, I have Invoke Dogmatica Shadow. Konami just refuses to touch this deck. Schism still legal, Winda's still legal, Meltdown still at 3. I mean, it's insane. Konami just loves this deck, and I don't think they're ever gonna touch it. It's insane. So and the fact that this deck has such a dedicated fan base as well, where they keep on refining the deck. They figure out that the best Shaddoll monster ratio is just running 2 Shaddolls in the deck. That's all they need to combo off. It's insane to me. So yeah, I mean, if you don't know how to play against this deck, I would recommend you to look up like some rulings regarding like Meltdown, or like all the rulings basically that you need to know to face this deck, because this deck will see a lot of play. So yeah, I mean, Alistair will continue to be normal summoned, right? Hope you are ready to see a lot of Alistair normal summon in the upcoming ban list. But yeah, that's why I have Invoked Dogmatica Shaddol on my top 1. Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree? I want to know what your top 5 are on the comments below. But as always, this was Yara here. Don't forget to click that like and subscribe button. But I will catch you on the next video. Take care.